Hi, folks. It's April 24th, 2025, and this is the Backdrop Weekly Dev Meeting. We get together every week to talk about development priorities for the Backdrop CMS project. We've got feature freeze for Backdrop 1.31 just around the corner. And so we're going to be talking about the issues that we might be able to complete here in the next week. So we'll do some introductions to kick things off. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet, and I'm the technical lead and a core committer for the Backdrop project. We've got a handful of folks here, and we'll go around and do some introductions. So we'll start with Justin, and then we'll go to Eli.
Hey, I'm Justin Kaiser in Muncie, Indiana, and I spend some time contributing to Backdrop, and maybe we're going to talk about image styles today.
Great, thanks, Justin. Eli, and then Joseph.
Hello, my name is Eli Lissick. I'm a developer with Giant Rabbit. I'm in San Diego, California.
Thanks, Eli. Joseph, and then Martin, if you're available.
I am Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm a core contributor for Backdrop.
Thanks, Joseph. And then Martin, if you're around.
I am Martin Price, Yorkshire Pudding around Backdrop. I'm a developer in Northeast England, contributing to Backdrop, Contrib and building Backdrop sites.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for doing introductions. That's who we've got today. So let's see. Oh, contrib updates. We like to call out new contrib modules as they get released every week. There was one new contrib module this week called Views Callback. Herb Duel created it, and it's a replacement for the Views PHP module, kind of a safer version. Instead of executing arbitrary PHP in your view in a text area, it lets you specify a function in a module to call. So it's great. Thanks, Herb, for thinking about that problem and making a new module for Backdrop. All right, so yeah, we've got Backdrop 131 just around the corner. The overall new feature list for it is pretty slim. Probably the big thing is that we're bumping the PHP minimum version, so that will be the big change that, well, I don't know, it probably won't impact many people. I think it's less than 1% according to telemetry, but it is a thing that people might want to check on their PHP version just to make sure that it's not absolutely ancient because we're still supporting PHP version 7.1 and higher, so that's still pretty old. So that's one change. We also are updating CKEditor. We had been on the latest version up until last week, and then there's a new version of CKEditor, version 45, that came out. And we've been working on trying to get that version compatible with Backdrop's custom plugins, but we've been having some difficulty there. So that issue is 6788, where we're trying to figure out what needs to be done in the link, Backdrop link plugin. And if we can figure that out, then we may update to the latest version of CKEditor. But we did update to version. We've already updated at least 3 versions newer in the 131 release already, and the Backdrop, or the 44.3 version of CKEditor included the emoji plugin. So that's exciting that the emoji plugin is there. We've got a separate issue for adding the emoji plugin. Let me see what number that one is. 6772. So that is pretty much ready to go. There's some I'd suggested at one point that we could make this pull request better than it is by, I'm going to share my screen here. So this is the pull request for the issue. And I suggested that we could make this code better because right now it adds the emoji button, but it doesn't actually check to make sure the database supports the emoji character sets. UTF-8 MB4 is what it's called on the technical side. But honestly, that's a pretty slim number of sites that I think that we need to worry about that on. And I think it might be, and it's not even turned on out of the box. This one has had the emoji button turned on. So I think that we could probably merge this and then make a follow-up because it's not doing anything new. You can still enter an emoji into CKEditor today, but you have to copy paste it or use your operating system in order to access the emojis. This makes it so that the emojis are available via autocomplete with a colon, for example, and also adds this button. So I think readiness wise, this is probably good as it is, even though it could be better to conditionally show this button or give you a warning saying that this button is not going to be supported by your database system if it's not valid. So yeah, curious if other people feel the same way about that, if there's any need to hold this up. Right now, it's just been me and Indigo Zella going back and forth on this issue, so it'd be really great if somebody else wants to weigh in here or test it out. That would be appreciated. All right, so we had a bunch of issues that we talked about last week that have all moved forward a little bit. This issue extending the API of hook entity info. This is to help facilitate entity translate module. This pull request looks great. I think, yeah, it needs to be documented. And I think also, I think this also needs test coverage. Yeah, there's no new test things in here. Although it's possible that the tests might already cover this because the label of, well, no, it doesn't, because there's new circumstances that are set up in here. That's right, a label callback, for example. We need to be able to test this new capability of hook entity info and make sure that it has test coverage. So that's the hold up on this one, but conceptually it looks great. Let's see. We already talked about CKEditor. This little issue from Laren also looks really great. 6859. And this is a API addition that simply allows attaching libraries, JavaScript and CSS in a different way. And it does it with hook theme, making it so that we don't need to call like backdrop add library or backdrop add JS inside of a theme function. You can instead just add it as part of the theme definition. And so this is an example here inside a date module, for example, where it had been saying backdrop add CSS inside of a preprocess function. And we can now move that up to be a part of hook theme. So it basically just makes it so that the CSS or libraries or JavaScript is put into a place where it's easier to access as far as like disabling that file from showing up, because hook theme alter could be used to take this back out or to add additional things. So it's a pretty minor change, but it's just adding to kind of what is like a little hole in our API to make it so that you can associate libraries in JavaScript with theme functions a little bit more easily. I think that there's some hope that this also could help facilitate something kind of like Drupal's single directory components, making it so that templates and CSS files and JavaScript are more associated together. It makes this a bit easier to achieve, I think. It doesn't actually it's not branded as that. I think it's just a useful facility that could be used to further that if somebody's interested in pursuing that as an additional capability. Uh-huh. And that's it. We've also got this issue that hasn't had any movement here. Laren is hoping to oh, there's a pull request here. I'm not sure if this is new. No, this is quite old. Laren is hoping to push this one forward. Also an API addition, making it so that layout templates can define certain types to make it so that we could separate between page templates, which are kind of the only layout templates we have right now, and other types of templates. And he's hoping to get this API created for the purposes of facilitating paragraphs module and making it so that he can use the layout system as a part of layout paragraphs module. So I'm not sure this one, this one needs work, and it hasn't gotten any attention recently. I'm not sure this one is viable. We only have a week before feature freeze, so this seems like a bit of a stretch at this point. I was looking through our issue queue. The things that are in 131 is really pretty minimal at this point. And some of that is because these things aren't there's other issues that aren't specifically tagged as the 131 milestone. And the reason for that is the way that we put things into the 131 into the next feature milestone is that we need to have an advocate for individual issues. And so I think that would be great. For example, Justin, if you could advocate for oh gosh, advocate for the issue for image styles, that would be great. And it's funny, I had that in the agenda, but then I had some agenda confusion before the meeting started. There's
It's
also
2658. Yeah.
yeah,
we
here
found
we
it.
go. Yeah, so there's also this issue that Justin is working on, and just filed a pull request for last night, I think. And this is a great start. I haven't tried out the sandbox. Do you want to, does it work, Justin?
Oh, yeah, it works.
Yeah, let's try it out. Here we go.
At least it did when I tried it earlier this afternoon. So watch it not work now.
All right. So this feature makes it so that you can insert an image into CKEditor, and then you can choose what size or what image style that should.
You've got to turn it on first.
Oh, okay.
You've got to go to the text format.
Text formats.
And it's a filter down there. Image styles and content is what it's labeled. So then configure, choose the image styles that you want to use.
Okay. Actually, okay. We can make a summary here of this, like we have for
Mhm.
the tags to show you what image styles potentially. Although I don't know, that can get kind of long on a site that has a whole bunch, but
Yeah, I've got some that have a whole lot. Now it'll show up.
okay, so let's take an image. Oh, it's right here.
Yep.
Okay, insert.
Data image style thumbnail. There's CSS. It adds CSS that does a preview when you're on the edit screen. And then when you actually save the node and it displays, it'll use the derivative. And I need to go get my battery because there's no power out here and I didn't know it.
Okay. I'm curious how it knows the size of the images. that seems like magic, because the height and the width aren't specified here. Huh. Well, I mean, it works great. It works the way you want it to. I'm just not sure how it works. So yeah, there we go.
Where
And
are
so,
we?
oh, I'm curious about how it knows inside of CK Editor that this is a thumbnail and should be shown at that size. Like, how does it know?
Open up the inspector. It's adding CSS. See the IMG and the data image style in the brackets? It's grabbing the image style. It knows what image style it is, and then it's figuring out what the
Oh,
dimensions of that style is, and then adding the CSS in the editor screen.
wow. Wow, that's pretty cool. Wow, that's really neat. Does it do that with the JavaScript is doing that?
Nope, I don't think it's the JavaScript. The changes in the CK editor JavaScript is just to make that the markup work. Because if you had a regular, if you didn't make the change to backdrop image JS and you added that, you went to source and you added that data image style, as soon as you went off the source, it would get kicked out.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, so it's just adding it as a inline style. Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty neat.
That's
Huh.
kind of what that's what the Drupal module did that this was based on. And it was different to get it to work in backdrop, but it does the same thing. So
Wow, that's really neat. Um, yeah, that's cool. Does it work for all kinds of images? Like, I might try different like portrait versus landscape.
um, well, it'll still make the image style.
Uh-huh.
What um I didn't test it with SVGs or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's probably its own little
Yeah.
challenge there. So yeah, so
Mm.
that's now has swapped it out so that yeah, the data image style is still there, but it swapped out the source to point at the actual image derivative. That's great. That's really neat. Joseph, were you saying something?
Um, I was gonna say it might work better on the editor for the SVG because it's using the CSS height and width instead of whatever else it's doing on the back end.
Now there's things that we could do in there, like when you're editing and you have this module on, this was in that issue as well. If you're using the image styles, do you really need the height and the width and height? Because you're not going to change that then. So if you're going to use an image style, then it should hide that other stuff on the form.
Oh, yeah. But that's pretty minor. What it should also do, if it is at all possible, is it should populate the width and the height if they're blank like this.
It should do that. You're right.
Yeah, because browsers really they can benefit a lot from knowing the size of the image. That will help them paint before the image loads. It'll reserve the spot for it and then load the image in after if it knows the size of it. So that could be, improved slightly. And I think that I thought that when you inserted an image,
Mhm.
I thought that it populated the width and the height already uh, for you when you selected an image, but I'm not sure if that capability was lost or if I'm just imagining that it existed.
Maybe it might work with a real image or not one of those card things that's in there.
Yeah. Here, I'll take a screenshot. That's always.
Aren't those PNGs though?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're PNGs.
Oh.
I just copy pasted the image in here. Okay, so yeah, it put it in there. maybe that's what I'm thinking of, is that when you upload an image, it gets the dimensions.
Huh.
Huh. Well, that's pretty great though. And then, yeah, but it kept that dimension. That's interesting. Okay, now I'm curious what's going to happen here. Okay, yeah, so it ended
It
up
kept the
using,
dimension.
it kept the thumbnail, but it kept the dimension from the
Dang it.
original upload.
So it
Yeah.
it cropped the image and then scaled it back up to its original size.
Uh-huh, yeah, exactly. So now it's a blurry, it's a really big blurry image of this is the thumbnail. Still, it's conceptually a really good start. Yeah. And there's a lot of feedback in the issue about you know, where the code should live, and there's a lot of unnecessary changes in the Seek Editor plugin that it's like duplicating a whole bunch of it's like replacing a whole bunch of code with indentation changes with white space. So it could be
Yes.
cleaned up quite a bit.
Yes.
But yeah. But this is what I was mentioning before, is that if you edit the summary and put yourself as an advocate, then we can put it into the 131 milestone. And that's not really a commitment to getting it in 131. It just surfaces it, saying that this is a likely thing for the next milestone. And if it doesn't get in 131, then we would bump it to 132. But yeah, I think it's a great candidate. It would be a really nice user-facing feature to have. And I know on my client site, they would use it right away. So that would be great.
It is. It,
So
I mean, the contrib module has basically the same functionality as this. It just took a long time to get it to work.
so is there this is not really related to the issue. Is there a way to get PHP Storm to not auto indent files?
I think
Yeah.
I think it was actually VS Code that did it, because what
Oh,
I
okay.
what I do is I work on entire sites in PHP Storm, and then I have individual modules in VS Code, and it screws with things. So
Oh,
Yeah, the in PHP Storm at least, I'm not sure about VS Code. You can do you can hold Shift when you paste. So Command Control Shift V or Command Shift V, and then it will paste as plain text.
okay. And that will like ignore your get attributes, so it doesn't.
Yeah, it
Good.
won't reformat it. Yeah.
Okay.
so how do I edit the summary?
Uh, these three dots here and hit edit.
Okay.
Okay, good. You've got that ability. Yeah, this should be great. This has been opened, you know, for a very long time, and it's kind of a self-evident feature.
So, okay, so I have another question about the JavaScript. The so the JavaScript file that is being edited, that's not from the CK editor, that's one that we've provided. Backdrop image.js.
Yeah, this is our plugin for Seek Editor. So it's
Okay.
it's an addition to Seek Editor. It's not part of the upstream library.
Okay, so that won't get wiped out every time we update CK editor.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, you know, like other things with Seek Editor, you know, their APIs may break our module every now and then, which does happen.
Right.
But yeah. No, hopefully for most updates, there won't need to be any changes here.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's great. That could be our headline feature. I think it would be good if to focus on this one particular issue, because I do think that it's achievable. And with Justin's initial start and demonstration, I think we're yeah, we're moving on it, which is great. Yeah, do we have any other comments or feedback on this issue? Okay. The other area, I mean, it's pretty late in the game to be looking for new issues. But I was looking at our issue tracker broadly, and if you look at the label for milestone candidate minor, so these are all of the other things that are potentially close. And if you look at a lot of them, you'll see that there's pull requests on many of them. And so these are all candidates for getting into the next minor release. This is actually where like the emoji is, the attaching libraries. But there's lots of other items in here. Add dashboard context to any layout. Start using pound indentation in more places. Yeah, lots of potential candidates here. So yeah, if we were looking for more things to pop into the next release, this is a good list to start from. Welcome, Tim.
I thought of one that Wes was talking to me about that was open this morning. It's probably not in the case for this release, but it is something that's very annoying and has a PR.
Yeah, what issue is it? Do you know?
It was at the top of the queue that you were just looking at, but I could find the page here. It is issue 6888.
6888.
It's the thing where the menu blinks when you refresh the page.
Yeah, flash of unformatted content, unstyled content. I love it when there's activity like this. So Olaf hopping in almost instantly. Oh, here we go. Yeah, if this is a bug, then this could be something that we do in a bug fix release. Yeah, or after feature freeze if if we wanted to prioritize.
Oh, and Wes just submitted a PR today, huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah, this is just
Well, that kind of thing can get in pretty quick, Eli.
yeah, I'm not quite sure how to see this problem, but especially on a fast computer with a fiber connection, it's probably not going to show up. Cool. Let's see. You know what we can do here is we can add it to milestone candidate bug.
Yeah, it's hard to see. You might be able to like throttle your connection with the inspector to see it, but sometimes it's difficult. Or like load up a site with a lot of JavaScript, or like when you're logged in, it's easier to see that sort of thing.
Yeah, we can give it a shot. Let's see, network. Throttle. Give us 2G. Okay, but this is the pull request with the problem fixed, and so we need another one. Okay, so this is, oh. We gotta put it under thing. Okay, so now we have another modal 2G. Let's see if we can see it.
What are you doing right now, Nate?
I'm just looking, what do you mean?
Well, were you doing something to force this error? I thought you were maybe manipulating the page in a way that might be interesting. The status 200 in the left, were you just browsing through that or were you editing something?
No, I disabled, I turned on throttling to try to see if I could get it to show up, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for still. So I think
Okay.
maybe I'll investigate this after the meeting. But cool.
I
Thanks for
just
bringing it
know
up.
there's a lot of things in the inspector that a lot of features I don't know about. So when I see somebody using it, I want to
Oh, okay. Yeah,
see if
so
I can learn something.
yeah, so over here, this is in
Mhm.
Firefox. Chrome has something similar. So if you go to the network tab,
Mhm.
then you can see all of the requests that happen. And if you check this box for disable cache, then it will re-retrieve all of the assets from the remote server. And then there's
Mhm.
this drop down over here that usually says no throttling.
Mhm.
And you can change it to make your connection slower.
Okay.
And so this switched it to like being on a bad mobile connection. And then when I reload, instead of being instantaneous, you can see it's taking time to load and like stuff is coming in one thing at a time and the font loaded and you could see it
Right.
come in. And so yeah, that was trying to reproduce the problem by being on
Okay.
a slower connection as opposed to no throttling when I reload,
Yeah.
it all goes pretty quickly.
Right. Not something I was aware of that I could do. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that I can do it. I just didn't know how. So thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Those are all the topics that we had for today. Really kind of continuing to drive towards Backtop 131, seeing what things we can get in. We've got the emoji plugin. That's almost for certain going to be completed. This image style thing would be really awesome to add that as well. And yeah, those are the main things. I think it would be good if we focused on the ones that are close and drove them to completion. But there are a lot of other potential things that are in that milestone candidate list. So yeah, that's where we are.
Okay. Real quick summary, the thing Justin's working on, how is that looking pretty good? Or did you discover some holes yet? Or
Yeah, we did. Yeah, there's some things that people have already left in the issue that can be worked on. But then when we were trying it out, we also found a little hole with the height and the width attributes that could be improved. So, but overall, like it does work. So that's a really great start. It also will need test coverage.
yeah.
Like everything. I pretty much went through all of the issues today that were candidates for the next milestone, and all of them needed test coverage. So
Okay. Well, I have another issue that's not related to the release.
yeah, go ahead.
And I don't know much about it, but it's Irina released OpenID Connect this week, the contrib module. And I think we talked briefly about this in the past. Is that a candidate for single sign-on for our sites?
Um,
You know, not a
yeah,
priority probably before release, but maybe after release, is that something we might be able to look at?
yeah. I'm really interested in single sign-on for our
Right.
properties between events and the forum and the main site. I know people get confused at Backdrop
Yeah.
Live when they need to
Yes.
create. They already have a forum web account, and then they have to create another account for Backdrop Live. That confuses them.
Yeah.
So yeah, the big question I don't think is well, I guess there is a question of technology too. Um, but the bigger question I have is where are we going to host the server and what's that server going to be? Um, I've been keen on not making a backdrop solution for it. There's some that you can have backdrop act as the server for an OpenID provider, but I'm kind of shy of that option because um, there's so many dedicated pieces of software that provide single sign-on at this point. Like single
Mhm.
sign-on is like it's a solved problem that thousands and thousands of organizations, have single sign-on at this point. And I think like rolling our own sign-on system is a little old
By,
school at this
by
point.
sign-on system, do you mean the server?
Yeah, the server.
Because like the module, in theory, it seems to be the solution, but you need a server.
Hmm.
So this might be a really crazy idea, and I'm not advocating for it, but Irina at least mentioned that Drupal is using the same system.
Hmm. Yep.
And like she suggested, maybe we ask them if we could build off of what they have at all.
Yep.
Which I wouldn't be against thinking about, but I don't know if it makes sense or not.
Yep. So when you log into to Drupal.org,
Right.
I'll share my screen again.
But that would mean people would need to create a Drupal.org account, wouldn't it, in order to get to Backdrop?
Oh no, I'm not suggesting that we would literally sign into Drupal.org to do
Yeah,
backdrop. No. What I was pointing out is that this little logo down here, Cloud
right.
IAM. And so this is so Keycloak is one of the most popular open source
Yep.
pieces of software to do single sign-on, and Cloud IAM is a hosting provider that basically just runs that software, and then you pay a subscription fee for them
Okay.
to run that software for you. And yeah, what I connected with the Drupal infrastructure team when they first introduced this and asked them like
Mhm.
what they were paying basically, and it's pro bono in exchange for they show the logo on the login page,
Yep.
so it acts as advertising basically for them, and also like a case study or a write-up basically, or a blog post like announcing that they were using it, this was their provider and why they chose them. And so I haven't reached out to these folks to ask them if we could basically have the same deal, but I think that that's an option for us that we could
Cool.
pursue that. Because then we wouldn't be paying anything, we wouldn't be maintaining anything,
Mhm.
but we would also be making our site dependent on an
Right.
external provider.
Yep.
But I think that that's a pretty good set of trade-offs.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
accounts.drupal.org, yeah, as a custom domain. So we would do the same sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where I would like to be
Right.
with our sign on. But I think that that's
Well, having this module available does get us a step closer, doesn't it?
well, because Drupal.org still mostly runs on Drupal 7,
Mhm.
there's also what Drupal.org is running could easily be adapted to Backdrop as well. And I'm not sure how that relates to the module that Irina ported.
I'm going to try to get her to do a user group session on her module, and maybe you could be there and we could talk about our own solution,
Hmm.
our own situation and how that relates to the module, and whether or not that's the right solution.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'd be curious to see it in action too, what Irina has made. Because there's other things that are more integrated where you're still like on the Backdrop website. For example,
Mhm.
this is taking you to a totally different URL,
Right.
and then it's sending you back once you're logged in.
Right.
And so yeah, there's that aspect of things that, depending on how integrated you want it to be and what you want it to look like, this kind of takes you out of your website for the
Yeah.
purposes of login.
That does
Uh,
feel weird to me when I first experienced that.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, really pretty common,
Mhm.
across all kinds of single sign-on things, like when you're signing into Google, it doesn't matter whether you were on Photos or, Docs or
Right.
whatever. The sign-in page doesn't say Google Docs or Google Photos. It's like
Yeah.
just the Google login.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that that's a pretty common thing these days. And it also makes it so that that login provider can do all kinds of additional things like two-factor authentication, for example, and we don't even need to worry about that at all. Like the process and the workflow of like, sending you a text message or
Mhm.
use a mobile authenticator app, all of that gets handled on their side with no additional effort on our side. The only thing we have to do is accept the token that comes back and say, yes, this person is logged in.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like the offshoring of all of that problem to another provider.
Yeah.
Obviously, having Backdrop have a login system is crucial for sites that don't need single sign-on. So that's not going anywhere. But if you've got a federation of sites, I totally think that you should use these off-the-shelf solutions that already exist for this problem.
I just unmuted to say I agree.
Oh, okay.
Having I used OpenID Connect a few times in Drupal 7, and a couple of them were using Drupal as the identity provider as well for another, like a federation of Drupal sites. And that module is good as far as I remember, easy to set up, whatever, but doing your own IDP is a pain and probably not worth it.
Great. Thanks for your opinion. 'Cause I don't think everybody feels that way. And so that's the kind of sticking point here is that I'm not sure if we should reach out to Cloud IAM first and be like, hey, is this even an option for us? Or if we should decide if we would even accept Cloud IAM as being a provider. Like there's kind of this chicken and egg thing going on here about our decision-making process. It probably wouldn't hurt to know if they would provide us the service, even if we weren't going to use them, like, but they might also be less, helpful if we're not ready to actually move on it, right? So anyway, yeah, I'd love to talk more about it. This is a thing that's bothered me quite a bit about our properties that I think could be improved. I would also just love it, like right now, there's not a whole lot of reason to have an account on the main website unless you're writing a showcase is
Right.
pretty much the one situation where that might be useful for a
Mhm.
normal person. But it is really useful to have an event account and it is really useful to have a forum account. And so it'd be nice if we could get like I think those two sites may actually have more users on them than the main website does. And it would be nice if we could group them all together and make it so that it would be easy for people to log into the main website if we added more capabilities to the main website.
Yeah.
Yeah, since project management is all offshored to GitHub, uh, a lot of people don't actually ever need accounts on backdropcms.org because the creation of projects and releases and the issue queue management, all of those things that people primarily use Drupal.org for just don't even exist on our main website because all of it is on GitHub. Which this is kind of the same thing where it's like we could have built our own issue tracker just like Drupal.org had, but that's not the way people work today anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, same sort of thing. Okay. Well, I'm getting a phone call, so I'm gonna just go ahead and end for today. Thank you everybody for being here, and
you-
yeah, we'll see you